Hi, this is Dr. Friedlander, and in this short little lesson, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, technology to support the teaching of math. And it's important when we think about teaching math, some of the difficulties that students might have. And so we need to think about the automaticity of the students' math capabilities. And when I think about automaticity, I'm talking about how basically when we think about it is kind of math, fluency. If we were talking about reading, we talk about reading fluency, and that's the ability to decode both accurately and also quickly words. Math fluency has to deal with, does the student really, know their number facts? So can they let's say add or multiply even single digit numbers quickly and accurately, because that is certainly going to have an impact on their ability to solve math problems. In the textbook, they talk about a program called Fast Math Next Generation, which can help students build those skills so that they can command some mastery over basic facts, which will then help them in solving more intricate and more complex kinds of problems. The other thing that is important to consider, and sometimes where technology can play a big part, is for students that may have visual or spatial difficulties, or difficulties in the area of fine motor control. And I'm sure you have worked with those students in your classroom. Typically, these students have difficulty with just the physical act of writing, and so which makes it really difficult to read their handwriting. And not only would you have difficulty, but sometimes the students themselves have difficulty with reading their handwriting. So when they're trying to solve, problems on worksheets, it's all also generally it's difficult for them. One of the approaches with students who may have difficulty with the physical act of writing is to use certain kinds of software and strategies. So for example, on an iPad, you may use something like SnapType this would scan the worksheet, and then it would allow the students to type their responses. Or some other approaches might be using something like Mod Math 2.0, which was actually designed by some parents who had a child who was very dysgraphic and who had difficulty doing math on paper. And Mod Math supports, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and fractions. And what ModMath is, it's basically, looks like it's an application with graph paper and the numbers stay in the cells. So it allows students to solve their math problems as if they had a pencil or pen in their hand. And it lets them show the steps. Another approach might be using something like a application that lets you create a PDF. So you can use something like Scanner Pro, which can scan, and then you can send it to something like PDF Expert on an iPad, and then the student can solve the math problems that way. So these might be some approaches to consider. And then you have students who have difficulty with sort of, concepts. And here, teachers could use some different types of what I'll call, let's say, virtual manipulatives to help them understand it. So in the past, some teachers might have used something like Cuisenaire rods, but there are certainly a number of virtual manipulatives that could be used effectively. And if you one nice source is the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives, where you can find a whole host of different manipulatives, everything from Cuisenaire rods to other kinds of applications dealing with both time and money, which can be really effective for students that have more difficulty understanding concepts. Another really great resource is the Math Learning Center, which has a whole host of apps that work on Chromebooks, Macs, and PCs, which can be really helpful for students that need more access to understanding, concepts. So I hope that this was helpful, and I will also provide some links for videos so you can take a look at some of these applications.